There's a poem I like, though technologists aren't conventionally supposed to like poems, by W.H. Auden. It's called Spain, 1937. In it, Auden addresses the civilizational challenge of his own time, which was the confrontation with international fascism. International fascism and Marxist-Leninism first clashed in the Spanish Civil War, and Auden, like many well-meaning young men and women of the time, went to Spain to serve in the Republican cause. In his case, as an ambulance driver. In the end, he didn't stay very long. The suppression of the religious and the closing of the churches by the leftist parties profoundly shocked him. And he went back to England, immigrated to America in 1937, and embraced a kind of strange conservative Anglicanism. But while he was still a man of the left, he wrote one last revolutionary poem called Spain, 1937. And it ends very beautifully. The stars are dead, the animals will not look, and the time is short, and we are left alone with our day, and history to the defeated may say, alas, but cannot help nor pardon. Now, interestingly, Auden came to hate this poem. He suppressed it in his collected works, and if he found the poem on the bookshelves of his friends, he would scrawl on the margins, "This is a lie!" exclamation mark, exclamation mark. But I find those words moving. I find them moving because it makes me ask, what are the civilizational challenges of our own day? And what verities do we believe in that we will have to later abandon? Because fascism was not defeated by the forces of the left. It was defeated by an alliance of the armies of the much despised liberal democracies, as well as communism, and technologies like electronic crypto analysis and massed industrial output. So I asked myself to think of the great challenges of our day, whether it's clean water or carbon emissions or epidemic diseases or cancer, access to education, inequality. I asked myself, what should we do? Because the time is short. And if it'll turn on, the reason why time is short is because there will be 9.6 billion people alive on the planet by 2050. 9.6 billion people on a planet roiled by climate change. And we have no idea at the moment how we will do things like double energy output, double water distribution, double food production, how we will provide access to education, universal healthcare, jobs that allow at least some form of self-expression and the potential for personal wealth, how will we create livable cities. 9.6 billion people, and we don't know how to do it. These solutions of the past are not commensurate to the challenges we face at the moment. Now, there is a hypothesis, which is that the internet is the answer. And this line of argument goes something like this, that the internet collectivizes our intelligence and our creativity, and entrepreneurs working together will create ideas that we can't even imagine. And it will solve those big civilizational scale problems. I find that point of view tremendously seductive. I'm a technologist. I work at MIT. I was the founding editor of Red Herring magazine, the Bible of the dot-com boom. I want to believe that argument. But it's worth remembering where the internet actually came from. It derived from a military network called ARPANET. ARPANET was designed to survive a nuclear exchange. It was meant to be robust so that if a single node went down, the network as a whole would survive. In 1969, in December, there were just 4 nodes, UCSB, UCSLA, SRI, the research center in Silicon Valley and Utah. Wonderfully, the internet immediately crashed on its first use. They got to the words LO, and they tried to write G in log, and the internet went down. But the internet grew, and the ARPANET grew, and it joined other networks like Usenet and NSFNet, and finally was joined up by folks like Vint Cerf and Bob Kahn into a network of networks. Until today, it is this extraordinary global network that joins billions of devices that we know today. But at its heart, the internet has a democratic flatness and a robustness and an always-onness that is captured by this famous phrase by the guy who wrote the initial protocols for the internet. Be conservative in what you do, be liberal in what you accept from others, which isn't a bad political philosophy. It's actually not a bad moral philosophy either. But that democratic flatness allows the internet to do some wonderful things. And I'm just going to run through them very quickly, though they're tolerably obvious, and they'll help guide the conversation for the rest of today. The Internet archives. It is our universal memory. It has transformed research for folks like me, journalists and research, and ordinary people. It links people, and I think this is non-trivial. This multilateral awareness of other people has transformed society. We're apt to forget how life was different before the internet. The revolutions in North Africa, the changing sexual mores of the young, companies like Uber and Airbnb, as well as educational experiments like MOOCs and the Khan Academy, all are incomprehensible without that connectivity between people who had never been connected before. And it networks computers. I think this is also non-trivial. The way that the internet empowers computers to work together, creating forms of pattern recognition, is providing some interesting insights into human behavior in the aggregate. But there are costs to these benefits. We all know them. The internet distracts, a line of argument most associated with this guy, Nicholas Carr, who says the internet is making us shallow. It's making us incapable of focusing or concentrating, accepting on little endorphin-sized bites of information. It watches us. It has powerfully increased the capacity of governments to watch us and monitor us, and companies too. And with that understanding of our behavior, our preferences, our most basic likes, it has also created a mechanism to nudge us in ways that might be incompatible with our rights and responsibilities as individuals. And finally, and I hesitate to say this in Aspen, it empowers and enriches people unequally. It has enriched a group of people who have a very homogeneous ideology. And finally, it's worth saying the internet doesn't reach everyone. There are 4.4 billion people alive today who have no access to the internet. But even if we made the internet into a thing like a human right, it would still only be a tool. Because human beings they're tool-making apes. We make technologies like the internet, and we write poems like Spain 1937. But tools like the internet, philanthropy, policy reform, market forces, none of them are sufficient to address the greatest problems of today, our toughest problems. At the end of Spain 1937, Auden imagines what the future might be like. And the joke is the future is like life is now, but life goes on. Life doesn't end. He says, tomorrow the boring lecture on radiation. He says, tomorrow the bicycle races through the suburbs on summer evenings, but today the struggle. Our struggle is to create a world fit for 9.6 billion free individuals. And at the moment, we don't know how to do it. And though I won't sell from the stage, if you would like to join a group of passionate, committed individuals who want to solve big civilizational scale problems, join me at Solve on the MIT campus, October 5th through 8th. And we will try to begin to move the world to some place that we'd all like to live. On that note, I'll say thank you.